Hey everyone. In this video, I'm going to be going over multiplication with the addition or subtraction method. Now this section is similar to the last section. However, it's not given the coefficients. It's not going to be given to you, or I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. The coefficients are not going to be the same. So we're going to have to make them the same. Okay, so if we look here, these coefficients are not the same, nor are they opposite of each other. When we look at these coefficients, they are not the same, nor are they opposite of each other. That's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to make one of them the same. Okay, so now let's look at this. In this case, they're both positive. Okay, so when you have coefficients that are both positive, that's when you use the subtraction method. Okay, or in this case, both of these coefficients, they're opposites of each other. That one's a positive, one's a negative. But the actual coefficients are not really the same, or they're not really opposites of each other. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to work with these coefficients, this -1 and +5. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, since this one's negative, this one's positive, I'm going to make them opposites of each other. Okay. So since this is a +5, I'm going to want to make this a -5. So in order for me to do that, to get from this -1 to a -5, I'm going to have to multiply this coefficient, this -1, by 5. But if I do that, I'm going to have to actually multiply this entire equation by 5. Okay, so it's like using the distributive property. So 5 times 3 equals +15. Okay, so this now becomes +15. Okay, and then this 5 times the -1, this becomes a -5. So this now becomes -5y. And then 5 times 9 equals 45. Okay, equals 45. So that's my new equation. Okay, now when we look at this, these coefficients are opposite of each other. So when they're opposite of each other, that's when we're going to add them. Okay, so 15x plus 2x equals 17x. And then -5y plus +5y is 0. So that cancels out. Okay, now we have 45 plus -11 equals 34. Okay, and then now we want to solve for x. So we have to divide by 17 on both sides. Okay, and x equals 2. Now remember, we're not totally done yet. We just know that x equals 2. We have to figure out what y equals. So now that's when we, just like in the last section, what we do is we plug in 2 for x for either one of these equations. Doesn't matter. Okay, I'm just going to, maybe I'll pick the bottom one, so that 2x plus 5y equals -11. I'm going to rewrite that. Okay, and then I'm going to plug 2 in for x. Okay, so that's 4 plus 5y equals -11. I want to isolate y, get y by itself. So get rid of the 4, so -4 on both sides. I'm left with 5y, so that's -11 minus 4. Okay, so that becomes -15. Okay, and then I divide 5 on both sides, okay, and y equals negative 3. There you go. So this is our solution. Our solution is 2, negative 3. Okay, now I'm going to move on to another problem. Okay, in that case, we use the addition method. But I'm going to give you one where we're actually going to use the subtraction method, but we still have to multiply. Okay, so if we look at the coefficients, they're not the same, okay? Nor do we have opposites, okay? But in this case, I'm going to make them the same. Okay, so I'm like thinking, well, how can I make them the same? Maybe we can make these two guys, maybe we can make them the coefficients 10. Okay, so it's like, well, how can we make this coefficient a 10? We have to multiply it by 5. So we're going to multiply this entire equation by 5 so we can make this a 10. And then in this case, we would have to multiply this entire equation by 2 to make this a 10, okay? But let's start off with this first equation. So 5 times 3 is 15, so this becomes 15. 5 times 2 becomes a 10, because remember we wanted that to be a 10, okay? And then 5 times 4 becomes 20. Okay, done with that. Now, let's move on to the second equation. 2 times 11 equals 22. Okay, 2 times 5, remember we wanted to make it 10, so it does equal 10. Okay, and then 2 times 3 equals 6. Okay, all right. Okay, now that our coefficients are the same, when they're the same, then we use the subtraction method. Okay, so 15 minus 22, okay, equals negative 7. Okay, and then bring down the a. Then 10 minus 10 cancels out. That's 0. Okay, 20 minus 6 equals 14. Okay, now we are left with this equation. Negative 7a equals 14, so we want to get rid of that negative 7, so we're going to divide both sides by negative 7. So a equals negative 2. Okay, so we're not done yet. Okay, we know that a equals negative 2, but we still need our b. So remember, like I said, you're just going to plug in a into one of these equations. I'm just going to use the first equation. Okay, so now we have 15, plug in negative 2 for a, bring everything else down. Okay, so 15 times negative 2 is negative 30. Okay, and then bring everything else down. Okay, and we want to isolate b, so I'm going to get rid of the negative 30, we're going to add 30 on both sides. Okay, now I'm left with 10b equals 50. Divide both sides by 10. Okay, and b equals 5. So we're going to put that in there. So our solution in this case is a negative 2, 5.